And we have more news coming in at this hour. The Supreme Court, remember, has just ended the immunity for members of Parliament and members of the Legislative Assembly, MPs and MLAs taking bribe. The court says MPs and MLAs taking bribe in House lose shield. Lawmakers taking bribe in the House can face prosecution. Essentially, Kanu, the Supreme Court has overturned the 1998 verdict which gave immunity to MPs that they so long enjoyed, isn't it?
Yes, Sneha, the Supreme Court today overturned its 1998 judgment by which the immunity has been granted to all the MPs, MLAs for whenever they give a bribe, they were given bribe for voting or in the House floor of the House. My colleague Srishti Hoja, who's sending us live updates from inside the court, she's said that the Supreme Court has said that the bribery is not protected.
Kanu, in a moment from now, we have a reaction coming in. Let's take a listen.
विधायक अगर पैसा लेके सवाल पूछता है या पैसा लेके वोट करता है राज्यसभा के चुनाव में तो उसको कोई इम्यूनिटी प्राप्त नहीं होगी, कोई उसको अलग से प्रोटोकॉल नहीं मिलेगा, उसके खिलाफ भ्रष्टाचार का मुकदमा चलेगा। माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है कि ये पैसा लेके वोट करना और पैसा लेके सवाल पूछना ये पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेसी के लिए जहर के समान है, ये पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेसी के लिए कैंसर है, इसलिए इसको रोकना बहुत जरूरी है। और आज स्पष्ट कर दिया है, अब किसी भी विधायक को या किसी भी सांसद को पैसा लेके पार्लियामेंट में कुछ भी करने पे कोई इम्यूनिटी नहीं होगी। उसको नॉर्मल जैसे एक क्रिमिनल के खिलाफ केस चलता है, एक भ्रष्टाचारी खिलाफ केस चलता है, वो भ्रष्टाचारी खिलाफ केस चलेगा।
Right, so you heard in fact from the lawyer in this case, with the court essentially saying that bribery is not going to be protected by parliament privileges. Kanu, we were talking about the fact that MPs and MLAs have been enjoying this privilege today. The Supreme Court, in a unanimous verdict, has made its position clear, overturning the verdict from the year 1998, isn't it?
Yes, Neha, the immunity was granted to MPs, MLAs under the Constitution of India under 105 subclause 2, in which it said that, all the MPs and MLAs who take bribe for voting in one particular case goes away. So the Supreme Court has very categorically in its judgment said that if a member votes a certain way because of bribe, it erodes the foundation of Indian constitutional democracy. This is very, very important
Kanu, just coming back to you in a moment from now, retired Justice R.S. Sodhi is also now joining us. Thank you, sir, so much for your time. Please talk to us a little about what do you think of this important verdict by the Apex Court today that essentially has spelled it out loud and clear, saying that there can't be any immunity that bribe-taking MPs and MLAs can enjoy, sir.
I think this is a very, very welcome judgment and a step which should have been taken long, long ago. In the event our leaders are immune from taking bribes, how would it affect the entire society? The society was suffering because our politicians were misbehaving and getting immunity on that misbehavior. Finally, it has been put to rest, and I'm so happy that now we can see, or at least achieve, a better society, a cleaner society, and it has begun right from the top and not from the bottom.
Well, absolutely. But at the end of the day, this was in fact immunity that was enjoyed by all of these MPs and MLAs for many, many years by the verdict of the Supreme Court from the year 1998. Your comments on that particular verdict as well?
See, as far as the immunity that was granted for the sake of independence of their voices, of their opinions. But bribery can't really be independent. It is really a step that stands against independence. You can be bought over. So I think at the time when the original judgment was there, possibly it was an experiment in morality at the highest level. But as experience has shown us, we were wrong. We were very, very wrong earlier, and that wrong had to be set right. I'm so happy it's been done now.
Okay, the wrong has been set right, is what Justice R.S. Sodhi is saying. I want to thank you, sir, for joining us with your views on that story. Kanu continues to be with us. Kanu, legal luminaries talking about the fact that was a wrong and that has been set right. I mean, how is it possible that you take money and then you in fact vote in the course of the Rajya Sabha elections? Or if there are bribery charges proven against you, there is no action taken given that you enjoy these privileges. That essentially has been overturned by the court today. Put this into perspective.
Yes, Neha, right till today, when the Supreme Court has now set aside the judgment, the MPs and MLAs who used to take bribes for voting for particular political party or giving a speech on the floor of the House were immune from any kind of prosecution under the Constitution of India. Article 105 subclause 2 and 194 gives them complete immunity from any kind of prosecution. This was essentially challenged before the 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court today set aside the 25-year-old judgment of the PV Narasimha Rao case, in which the immunity was granted to some MPs. Essentially, this was a case belonging to Sita Soren, who was involved in one of the Rajya Sabha elections. She was given a bribe for voting for a particular candidate in this election, in the said Rajya Sabha election. So this was set aside, and the Supreme Court coming down heavily on the thing that the democracy needs to be protected, and the election is the only sole way of handling the whole thing. So Supreme Court has now set aside the judgment of PV Narasimha Rao, and it paves way in which the prosecution of the MPs and MLAs will now take place in India as well.
Absolutely. The court has ended immunity for MPs taking bribes. Also, Kanu, for our viewers who have just joined us, give us a sense of this case. How did this matter reach the court after the year 1998's verdict? How did this matter then eventually reach the court? And what happened before that?
Sneha, the matter has reached the Supreme Court after 2 contradictory verdicts have come from the Supreme Court and 2 different benches. The Supreme Court then constituted a 7-judges bench, the highest judges bench, which has decided the matter today, because there were contradictions. One bench has decided that the immunity should be there, but the other bench said that the immunity can't. This needs to be a reconsideration, because the earlier verdict was of 5 judges bench, which decided that the immunity should be there. But since the other bench, which was formed in 2012, held that the same bench combination cannot hold this, then that's why a 7-judge bench was formulated, and now the bench has today set aside the old judgment, and by this way the immunity which was granted to MPs, MLAs for taking bribe or taking money or giving speeches on the floor of the House ends today. So difficult time ahead for all the MPs, MLAs and all the netas who used to take money and take immunity on these grounds, because from now today onwards this immunity goes by.
Okay, all right. That immunity ends is what the Supreme Court in a unanimous verdict has said today. I'm going to thank you, Kanu, for getting us those details and for putting that into perspective. So if MPs and MLAs are seen taking bribes, are proven to take bribes to cast their vote inside Parliament, they aren't going to be spared, is what the court clearly has said.